Introduction. We know that the cell is the structural and functional unit of life. Do you know what does it actually mean? It means a single cell can perform all basic functions of life. Example, movement, intake of food and respiratory gases, respiration, excretion. Okay, it is true for a single-celled or unicellular organisms. But what happens when there are so many similar cells as in multicellular organisms? In multicellular organisms, these cells are specialized to carry out a few functions efficiently. Each specialized function is done by a group of cells. Yes, I remember that nerve cells carry message from the brain to every part of the body. Muscle cells contract and relax so that movements are caused. Blood flows to transport oxygen, food, hormones, and waste materials. Plants are also living organisms, and xylem and phloem cells conduct food and water from one part to another. It is said that in multicellular organisms there is division of labor. I do not understand what does it exactly mean. Division of labor means that a particular function is carried out by a group of cells at a definite place in the body. This group of cells is called tissue, which are arranged and designed to provide the efficient specialized function. So we can define tissues as a group of cells similar in nature that work together to perform a particular function. Example, nerve tissue. Objectives. At the end of this lesson, you will be able to define tissue, identify types of tissues, understand the difference between plant and animal tissues, understand plant tissues, understand types of plant tissues, find the characters of meristematic tissues, understand types of meristematic tissues, understand functions of meristematic tissues, find the characters of permanent tissues, understand types of permanent tissues, understand functions of permanent tissues. Plant and animal tissue. Plants and animals both are living organisms, but their internal structures are entirely different. Can you tell me why? I know one major difference is that plants are autotrophic. That is, they can make their own food in presence of sunlight, carbon dioxide and water with help of chloroplasts. They are fixed at one place. So the tissues in plants are mainly of such types which give them strength. Some of them are also dead tissues which give mechanical strength. Yes, I know that animals are heterotrophic and have to move around in search of food, mate, and shelter. So they need more energy in comparison of plants. That is why most of the tissue in animals are living. One more big difference between plants and animals is pattern growth. The growth in plants is limited to some regions. There are some tissues in plants that divide. Yes, Madhuri. But in animals, the growth is not restricted to some places. It is uniform growth. In animals, structural organization of organ system is more specified and localized. Types of plant tissues. Ankita, do you know that on the basis of their dividing capacity, plant tissues are of two types, meristematic and permanent. Those tissues which divide continuously and help in increasing in length and girth of plants are known as meristematic tissues. These are found only in growth regions of plants. While those tissues which are derived from meristematic tissues but have lost the power of division and have attained their definite forms are permanent tissues. Activity. We can prove that meristematic tissues are found by doing an activity. I will take a glass jar, and Ankita, you will also take a similar glass jar filled with water. Then we will place same-sized onion bulb on each jar for 3 days to observe the growth of roots. Yes, we will measure length of roots on day 1, 2 and 3. Then on the 4th day, you will have to cut roots of onion bulb. Then again, place it on the jar. On the 5th day, we will again measure the root length. On the 5th day, we find that the growth of roots of my jar has stopped. Yes, this activity proves that growth of plants occurs only in certain specific regions because the dividing tissue, also known as meristematic tissue, is located only at these points. Characters of meristematic tissues. Meristematic tissues are very active, thin-walled, isodiametric living cells. Their cell wall is formed of cellulose. They are oval, rounded, or polygonal in shape. Their cytoplasm is dense, vacuoles are small-sized, nuclei are prominent. They divide throughout life, so they help in growth. Types of meristematic tissues. Depending on the region where they are present, meristematic tissues are classified as apical, lateral, and intercalary. The tissues present in the growing tips of stems and roots are known as apical meristem. The tissues present on the lateral side of roots and stems are lateral meristem. The tissues which lie on the base of internodes of stem are called intercalary meristem. Functions of meristematic tissues. The main function of meristematic tissue is formation of new cells continuously. Apical meristem increases the height of the plant due to elongation of the root and stem. It is also called primary growth. Lateral meristem increases diameter of the plant. It is also called secondary growth. Intercalary meristem increases the length of organ. Permanent tissues. After some duration, meristematic tissues lose their ability to divide and take up a specific role and form a permanent tissue. This process is called differentiation. Differentiated meristematic tissues form different types of permanent tissues. Characters of permanent tissues. In permanent tissues, cells are thin or thick-walled, living or dead and mature. The shape of permanent tissues may be oval, rounded, polygonal or elongated, fiber-like. They have intercellular spaces. Cytoplasm is vacuolated. Because they have lost the power of division, so they do not help in growth. Activity. We can see by an activity that there are different types of cells in plants. Take a plant stem and cut its thin section. Then stain it with safranin and keep it on a slide with a drop of glycerine and cover it with cover slip. Observe it under microscope. We can see various types of cells and their arrangement. Types of permanent tissues. Permanent tissues are of two types on the basis of nature of cell: simple permanent tissues, complex permanent tissues. Simple permanent tissues are composed of cells which are functionally and structurally similar. Types of simple permanent tissues. On the basis of nature of cells, simple permanent tissues are of three types: parenchyma, collenchyma, and sclerenchyma. Parenchyma is made up of cells with thin primary walls that retain their protoplasm. Collenchyma is made up of the cells with thick primary walls that retain their protoplasm. Sclerenchyma is made up of cells with lignified secondary walls that have lost their protoplasm at maturity, that is, are dead. Activity. With the help of another activity, we can find out various layers of cells in leaf. Ankita, take a leaf of Royo. Yes, I have taken a leaf of Royo. What should I do next? Then, stretch and break it by applying a little pressure on it. When you stretch it, some peel or skin projects out from the cut. I have removed this peel and kept it in water in a petri dish. Yes, now add few drops of saffronin and wait for 2 to 3 minutes. I have now transferred it on a slide with a drop of glycerine and covered it with cover slip. When you will observe it under microscope, you will find different layers of cells. Outermost layer of cells is known as epidermis. It is usually made of single layers of cells. Outer and side walls of epidermis are thicker than inner walls. The entire surface of all plants has epidermis. It protects all the parts of the plants from water loss, mechanical injury, and invasion by parasitic fungi. Small pores are there in the epidermis of the leaf. These pores are known as stomata. Stomata are covered by 2 kidney-shaped cells known as guard cells. They help in exchange of gases with the atmosphere and transpiration. Functions of simple permanent tissues. Parenchyma serves as a packaging tissue to fill the spaces between other tissues and maintain the shape of the plant due to its turgid cells. It also stores and assimilates the food. Transport of material occurs through cells or cell walls of parenchyma. Their intercellular spaces allow gaseous exchange. They also store waste products of plants like tannin, gum, raisins, etc. Collenchyma is a mechanical tissue, so it provides mechanical support and elasticity. Sclerenchyma is mainly mechanical and protective in function. It gives strength, rigidity, flexibility and elasticity to the plant body and thus enables it to withstand various strains. Types of complex permanent tissues. Complex tissues are made of more than one type of cells. All these cells coordinate to perform a common function. On the basis of nature of cells, complex permanent tissues are of 2 types, xylem and phloem. The supporting and water-conducting tissue of vascular plants, consisting primarily of tracheids and vessels, woody tissue. The food-conducting tissue of vascular plants, consisting of sieve tubes, fibers, parenchyma, and sclerids, also called bast. Functions of complex permanent tissues. The main function of xylem is to carry water and mineral salts upwards from root to different parts of shoots. Phloem transports photosynthetically prepared food materials from the leaves to storage organs, and later from storage organs to the growing regions of the plant body. Did you know chewing gum is the latex of the plant Acarar sapota? Sclerenchyma is the longest cell in plant kingdom. Commercial cork is obtained from the oak plant. In monocotyledonous plants like grasses, the guard cells are dome-shaped. Summary. Let us summarize what we have learned. Tissue is a group of cells similar in structure and function. Plant tissues are of 2 main types, meristematic and permanent. Meristematic tissue is the dividing tissue present in the growing regions of the plant. Permanent tissues are derived from meristematic tissue once they lose the ability to divide. They are classified as simple and complex tissues. Parenchyma, collenchyma, and sclerenchyma are 3 types of simple tissues. Xylem and phloem are types of complex tissues. Introduction. Ankita, as we have already discussed earlier, animals are heterotrophic organisms. They cannot synthesize their own food, so they have to move in search of it. They also have to move in search of mate, shelter, and other vital activities of life. For the accurate performance of vital activities, there are various tissues for every activity. On the basis of their functions, animal tissues are of 4 types: epithelial, connective, muscular, and nervous. Epithelial tissues. Tissues which cover all the organs of body externally and also lines of hollow organs internally is known as epithelial tissue. Yes, Ankita, the cells of epithelial tissue are tightly packed and it forms a continuous sheet. There is no intercellular space and matrix between these cells. Epithelial cells are present in skin, lining of buccal cavity, alimentary canal, kidney tubules, lungs, glands. Types of epithelial tissues. Epithelial tissues are classified into 5 types on the basis of functions of the cells and shape of the cells: squamous epithelium, cuboidal epithelium, columnar epithelium, glandular epithelium, ciliated epithelium. Squamous epithelium is made up of thin, flat, irregular shaped cells which fit together like floor tiles to form a compact tissue. It is found in lining of cavities and blood vessels and covering of tongue and skin. It is also known as pavement epithelium. In cuboidal epithelium, cells are cube-like. They appear square in section but appear hexagonal in free surface. It is found in kidney tubules, thyroid vesicles, salivary, sweat, and exocrine glands. Columnar epithelium consists of cells which are pillar-like in appearance because they are taller than broader. Their nuclei are at the base. It is found in the lining of stomach, small intestine, colon, gallbladder, and oviducts forming mucous membrane. The columnar epithelium is sometimes modified to form glands which secrete certain chemicals, and it is thus converted into glandular epithelium. It is found in the mucous membrane of stomach, sweat, and oil glands. Do you know that some cuboidal or columnar cells have a free border which bear thread-like cytoplasmic outgrowths known as cilia? These cells form the ciliated epithelium. It is found in sperm ducts, trachea, bronchi, kidney tubules, and oviducts. Function of epithelial tissues. Squamous epithelium protects the underlying parts of the body from mechanical injury, entry of germs, chemicals, and also from drying. Cuboidal epithelium helps in absorption, excretion, and secretion. It also gives mechanical support. Main function of columnar epithelium is absorption and secretion. Main function of glandular epithelium is secretion from these glands. The rhythmic, concentrated beating of cilia of ciliated epithelium moves solid particles in one direction through ducts. Connective tissues bind different organs and parts of various organs together. The cells of connective tissues are living, separated from each other, and very few in numbers. Gel-like intercellular substance called matrix forms the main bulk of the connective tissue. Matrix is fibrous in nature and binds other tissues. Types of connective tissues. Madhuri, do you know how many types of connective tissues are there? Yes, in animals, there are mainly 5 types of connective tissues. Areolar connective tissue, dense regular connective tissue, adipose connective tissue, skeletal connective tissue, fluid connective tissue. Areolar connective tissue is a loose and cellular connective tissue. Matrix of areolar connective tissue contains white and yellow collagen fibers. Dense regular connective tissue has orderly and densely packed fibers and cells. Dense regular connective tissue is a main component of tendons and ligaments. Adipose connective tissue is basically an aggregation of fat cells, also known as adipocytes. These fat cells are oval or round, filled with a large droplet of fat. Skeletal connective tissue contains cartilage and bone, which form the endoskeleton of vertebrate body. Fluid connective tissue links the different parts of body and maintains a continuity in the body. It includes blood and lymph. Activity. Let us do an activity to find out the different types of blood cells. I have taken a drop of blood on a slide and now observing it under microscope. We can see red blood corpuscles or erythrocytes, white blood cells or leukocytes and platelets. Plasma forms 55% of the total volume of blood. Plasma is a complex fluid containing inorganic salts and organic compounds like albumins, globulins, and fibrogens, glucose, amino acids, lipids, vitamins, enzymes, hormones, and waste materials like urea and uric acid. Human red blood cells are circular biconcave and denucleated and more in number. It has iron containing conjugated protein called hemoglobin, due to which they are red in color. Leukocytes are amoeboid, nucleated, and whitish. They are larger in size but less in number. They are of two types: agranulocytes without granules and non-lobed nucleus. These are of two types: monocytes and lymphocytes. Granulocytes containing cytoplasmic granules and lobed nucleus. They are of three types: neutrophils, acidophils, and basophils. Blood platelets are minute, anucleated, fragile fragments of giant bone marrow cells called megakaryocytes. Functions of connective tissues. Areolar connective tissue is supporting and packaging tissue between organs lying in the body cavity. Repairs the tissues after an injury, fights toxins, and fixes skin underlying muscles. Dense regular connective tissues strengthens the joints and permits normal movement. Do you know, Madhuri, sprain is caused by excessive pulling of ligaments. Adipose connective tissue stores fat, gives shape to limbs and the body, keeps the visceral organs in proper position, acts as shock-absorbing cushions around kidneys and eyeballs, and also acts as an insulator. Skeletal connective tissue forms endoskeleton, provides flexibility and support to the body parts, protects vital organs, stores calcium and phosphate. Fluid connective tissue transports nutrients, hormones and vitamins to the tissues of whole body and excretory products from the tissue of whole body to the liver and kidney. Muscular tissues. Muscular tissue consists of elongated cells, also called muscle fibers. Muscle contains special proteins called contractile proteins. When these proteins contract and relax, then the movement is caused. Types of muscular tissues. Ankita, on the basis of location, structure and function, muscle fibers are of three types: striated muscles, smooth muscles, and cardiac muscles. Striated muscles are found in limbs, tongue, abdominal wall, pharynx, and esophagus. They have alternate light and dark bands of striations. They are long, cylindrical, unbranched, and multinucleated. These muscles move when we want them to move, so they are also called voluntary muscles. Smooth muscles are present in the wall of stomach, intestine, blood vessels, iris of eye, ureter. They are small-sized, unnucleated and spindle-shaped and are generally arranged in layers. They are involuntary muscles as they cannot be started or stopped. Cardiac muscles are found in myocardium of heart. They are both striated and smooth muscles. Cardiac muscles are composed of branched fibers. The branches join to form a network. Each fiber is surrounded by sarcolemma and has sarcoplasm with longitudinal microfibrils and a central nucleus. The intercellular spaces are filled with abundant loose connective tissue supplied with blood capillaries. Functions of muscular tissues. Striated muscles provide the force for locomotion and all voluntary movements of the body. Smooth muscles are involuntary muscles, that is, they do not work according to our will. Movement of food in the alimentary canal, opening and closing of tubes are due to smooth muscles. Cardiac muscles contract and relax rapidly, rhythmically, and tirelessly throughout life. This contraction and relaxation helps heart muscles to pump and distribute blood to various parts of body. Nervous tissue. A tissue which is specialized to transmit message in our body is nervous tissue. Nervous tissues contain specialized unit cells called nerve cells or neurons, which have ability to receive stimuli from within or outside body and conduct that impulse to different parts of the body. This impulse travels from one neuron to another neuron. Do you know, Madhuri, that each neuron has three parts: cyton, dendron, and axon. The cyton or cell body contains a central nucleus and cytoplasm which has deeply strained particles called Nissel's granules. Dendrons are short processes arising from the cyton and further branching into dendrites. The axon is a single, long, cylindrical process of uniform diameter. Axon forms fine branches terminally. Each branch ends in a swollen structure called synaptic knob or bouton. Axon is also called nerve fiber. An individual nerve fiber is about 1 meter long. Functions of nervous tissues. The dendrites receive impulses and the axon takes impulses away from the cell body. Impulse is the passage of electrical activity along the axon of a nerve cell. Did you know? Epithelium tissue was the first tissue to evolve in animals. Epithelial tissue is simplest tissue. 40% of body weight is formed by striated muscles. Hemocytoblasts in red bone marrow give rise to mature blood cells. There is about 6.8 liter blood in human body. Bone is the hardest tissue, while blood is the softest tissue of body. Summary. Let us summarize what we have learned. Animal tissues can be epithelial, connective, muscular, and nervous tissue. Depending on shape and function, epithelial tissue is classified as squamous, cuboidal, columnar, ciliated, and glandular. The different types of connective tissues in our body include areolar tissue, adipose tissue, bone, tendon, ligament, cartilage, and blood. Striated, unstriated, and cardiac are three types of muscle tissues. Nervous tissue is made of neurons that receive and conduct impulses.